Vae Victis. Suffering to the conquered. Ironic that now I was the one suffering. Not anything as pedestrian as physical pain, rather the cruel jab of impotent anger. The hunger for revenge. I didn't care if I was in heaven or hell. All I wanted was to kill my assassins. Sometimes you get what you wish for. The necromancer Mortanius offered me a chance for vengeance, and like a fool, I jumped at his offer without considering the cost. Nothing is free, not even revenge.
You will have the blood you hunger for.
Welcome Questers. In today's episode of Classic Quests, we are diving into a game that I hold very close to my heart. Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain. Today I want to focus on something beyond the gameplay itself. Something that stands out every time you hear it in the game. The iconic battle cry, Vae Victis. Now I'm sure you've heard that phrase countless times, but how many of us actually know what it means and where it comes from? Vae Victis, it translates to woe to the vanquished, or woe to the conquered. It's not just a phrase thrown around in fantasy battles. It carries the weight of real history behind it, a lesson learned through blood and defeat. So today, I invite you to join me on a quest, this time through the annals of history, where we'll uncover the true story of Vae Victis, and how those words echo through both ancient times and our modern understanding of battle, power, and conquest. The story takes us back more than 2,000 years to the year 390 BC, or maybe 387 BC, depending on which historian you ask. Our setting is ancient Rome, still in its infancy as a republic, a far cry from the vast empire it would later become. At this time, Rome faced a fierce adversary, the Senones, a tribe of Gauls from what we now know as France, specifically from a region around the city of Sens. These were fierce warriors, and their chief Brennus was known for his tactical brilliance and bold leadership. The Gauls had set their sight on Italy, and were not a people to be taken lightly. After all, in ancient warfare, victory wasn't just about winning the day. It was about domination. If you won, you claimed everything, and if you lost, well, no one cared about your suffering. That's where Vae Victis comes in, a brutal reminder that in defeat, the conquered can expect no mercy, no negotiation, and no reprieve. The stage for this lesson in ancient cruelty was set at the Battle of Allia, a defining moment in early Roman history. This battle took place at the confluence of the Tiber and Allia rivers, about 10 miles north of Rome. If you think about it for a second, 10 miles is nothing in today's terms. And for the Romans, this was perilously close to their city, to their homes. Imagine the looming terror, the sheer anxiety of seeing an enemy force marching its way closer with every step. According to the Roman historian Livy, the Romans had little time to prepare. They were caught off guard by how quickly the Gauls advanced. They barely had time to reach the battlefield, let alone set up their defences. There was no time to establish a camp, no time to build ramparts, and no time to perform the rituals to divine the will of the gods, a critical part of Roman military practice. In ancient Rome, the gods' favour meant everything, and to fight without consulting them, well, that was almost a death sentence in itself. The Romans, in their panic, stretched their forces too thin. They tried to cover too much ground, hoping to protect their flanks, but this left them vulnerable. They stationed reserves on a hill to the east, thinking they could hold that ground. But Brennus wasn't fooled. He saw this weakness, and he exploited it. When the Gauls attacked the Roman reserves on the hill, chaos erupted. The Roman left wing collapsed under the pressure, and when the army's left side faltered, it created a domino effect. Soldiers fled in every direction, trying to escape. Some were crushed in the panic as they trampled over each other, while others tried to flee across the Tiber River, only to drown in its waters. The scene must have been one of utter chaos and terror. The survivors of this rout managed to make it to Veii, a nearby city, but not everyone made it there. Those on the right wing, seeing the collapse of their comrades, turned and fled towards Rome itself. The Gauls, watching this, were stunned. They couldn't believe how easily they had won. It was as if the Romans, who were known for their discipline, had simply fallen apart under the pressure. With their victory at Allia, the Gauls marched straight to Rome, and here's where things get really dark. The city, unprepared for such a swift defeat, fell to the invaders. The sack of Rome began, the first time in the city's long history that a foreign enemy occupied its streets. It would be almost 800 years before another invader, the Visigoths in 410 CE, would repeat this event. Now for the Romans, this was nothing short of a nightmare. They had lost their city, their people were under the thumb of a foreign enemy, and their pride was shattered. Desperate, the Romans decided to buy their freedom. They offered to pay the Gauls 1,000 pounds of gold, a fortune even by today's standards. But of course, it wasn't that simple. The Gauls, ever the opportunists, used their own heavier weights to measure the gold. When the Romans complained about this unfairness, Brennus made his legendary move. He threw his sword onto the scales, further tipping them in the Gauls' favour, and spoke those famous words, Vae Victis, woe to the vanquished. What did he mean by this? It was a stark reminder that when you lose, you don't get to argue. The terms are set by the victor. Your protests, your sense of fairness, it means nothing. Vae Victis became a powerful lesson in ancient warfare, a phrase that echoes through history to this day. So how does this tie back to our game? Well, in Blood Omen, Legacy of Kain, this phrase carries the same weight. Every time Kain cries out, Vae Victis, it's not just a battle cry, it's a declaration of dominance. It's a reminder that power defines the rules, and once you're defeated, you don't get to question the victor's terms. In both history and fiction, this phrase reminds us of the brutal reality of conflict. In battle, there are winners and there are losers, and for the vanquished, mercy is often a luxury they cannot afford to hope for. So, questers, next time you hear Kain shout, Vae Victis, remember its origins, and think about the harsh truth it represents, not just in the world of Legacy of Kain, but in the annals of history itself. That's all for today, questers. Thank you for joining me on this journey through time and legend. Until next time, remember, stay strong, stay sharp, and don't forget, Vae Victis.